Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our workshop clinic. These are our year-end updates that we're going to be talking about today. My name is Alicia Herwood. I'm the Chief Operations Officer and an attorney at Coast to Coast Legal Aid. We have been hosting workshops and clinics since April, and we are continuing to do so. But at this point, we wanted to do a wrap up for 2020 to talk about some of the hot topics that everyone is asking us questions about and discussing. I am here first today with Michael Habib. He is an attorney in our Economic Advocacy and Community Health Unit, and he's going to be answering some frequently asked questions that he gets on unemployment benefits. Hi, Michael. How are you today?
Hi, Alicia. I'm great.
All right, well, thank you for joining me today and being a part of this. Let's jump right in with unemployment. So what type of unemployment programs exist?
So the most common type of unemployment, or the unemployment program people most often apply to, is reemployment assistance. And reemployment assistance is not one of the unemployment programs created by the CARES Act. And what it allows people who have been working in Florida, who have a sufficient amount of Florida wages, to apply for benefits under this program. And if you're eligible, you should get 12 weeks of benefits. But now, because the waiting week has been waived, it's really 13 weeks of benefits. But lost my train of thought. And under this program, you're probably wondering, how much am I going to get? So you will your weekly benefit amount will be calculated by the DEO, and it will be posted in your Connect account, which is kind of the hub for unemployment claims, where you go in, you claim your weeks, and that's all stuff I'll talk about later. But some of the reasons why a person couldn't get reemployment assistance includes, quitting your job or being fired for misconduct. There are several other reasons why somebody wouldn't be able to get reemployment assistance, but those are two of the most common. But yeah, I think that covers it on reemployment assistance.
Okay. And are there programs that exist now that are as a result of COVID?
Yes. So 3 new unemployment programs were created by the CARES Act, which was passed on March 27th. Which is an economic stimulus bill. But the first unemployment program created by the CARES Act that I'm going to talk about is Pandemic Unemployment, or Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation. And
that's a mouthful.
And that's why we call it PEUC instead. Everything is acronyms in this area. But PEUC, what it does, it gives claimants a 13-week extension of benefits. So for example, if you're someone who was on RA and 13 weeks later you're still unemployed, because this is an incredibly difficult time, and that's very often the case, PEUC allowed those people who are on RA, the claimants on RA, to get a 13-week extension of benefits. Typically, your weekly benefit amount from reemployment assistance doesn't change when you transfer on to PEUC. So for example, if you're getting $200 a week from RA, you're going to get $200 a week from PEUC. We've seen some cases where people have gotten less, but by and large, people's weekly benefit amount stays the same. The second unemployment program, which is quite unique, is Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA. And this program is unique in that it allows independent contractors and self-employed people to receive unemployment benefits, because under RA, neither independent contractors or self-employed people are allowed to get benefits under that program. And this is a common thing. This isn't something just in Florida. If you go to New York or to other states, you'll see this requirement. Furthermore, unlike RA, PUA does not have a income requirement. So a lot of people who say, for example, there's some people who left their previous job because they were relocating, and they were scheduled to start a job at the beginning of the pandemic, but because of the pandemic, they lost that job. or the job offer was rescinded. So people like that can apply for PUA. The weekly benefit amount under PUA is a minimum of 125, and it can go as high as 275. We haven't seen a lot of people have their weekly benefit amounts recalculated. That's something we continue to work on, but there's an expectation that the weekly benefit amount for claimants under PUA will get their weekly benefit amounts recalculated. Also, PUA provides for up to 39 weeks of unemployment benefits. However, to apply to this program, it's a little different. You first must apply to reemployment assistance and then be ineligible for reemployment assistance before you can even apply for PUA. But that's how it goes. And the third, and this is probably the one people have heard most about, is FPUC, or Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation. And what FPUC does, it provides $600 a week in payments for benefit weeks between March 29th and July 25th. But with this, in order to get to $600, you can't just apply to FPUC on its own. FPUC provides a supplemental payment. So for example, if you're getting $100 a week from reemployment assistance between, March, if you're claiming weeks between March 29th and July 25th, you'll get the $100 from reemployment assistance, and then you'll get $600 in FPUC payments. However, if some people who are on unemployment are still working a little bit, they're working at reduced hours, or their income fluctuates from week to week. So say somebody earns, whose weekly benefit amount is $100, and they earn $200 in a given week. They're not going to be eligible for any benefits that week because their income was too high. And because of that, and if it's for a week claimed between March 29th and July 25th, they're not going to get the $600 payment either. The $600 payment must attach to something, is what I tell my clients. There's also another program, which is called Lost Wage Assistance, and it's only for 4 weeks. They'd only paid out 4 weeks from July 26th to late August. I don't know the exact date, but it provides $300 a week, and this was created pursuant to an executive order signed by Donald Trump. And but that's something that exists. But in order to get that payment, you have to have a weekly benefit amount of at least $100. Or if you're, also working part-time and you have a weekly benefit amount and the weekly benefit amount is reduced due to excess reductions, you need to still be paid at least $100. And like I said, it's only for 4 weeks. But something I want to point out about, PEUC, PUA, and FPUC, the funding for these programs is going to be ending on July 20th, not July 26th.
You backed us up there for a minute.
Yeah, on December 26th. And so I encourage anyone who, especially those of you who are independent contractors, self-employed people, or people who were scheduled to start a job but lost it due to COVID, you need to apply as soon as possible in order to get onto that claim, because after that, it won't be possible to apply to these programs.
So the application will end on December 26th as well.
Yes.
For it. Okay, so that's a week away. Really, it's a week from Saturday. So that's a pretty short time from now that those are going to be expiring. So thank you for that. It is a lot of acronyms and a lot of information, but that was really helpful how you broke them down, Michael. Thank you. So how would I apply for unemployment benefits?
We encourage everybody, even potential clients, to apply for unemployment on their own. This is something most people are, very capable of doing. One way you can apply for unemployment benefits is by going on your computer, if you have a computer, and going to My Florida. Let me get that because I want to give the right information. Connect.myflorida.com. You can also find this web address by Googling the words and then online, the word online. And once you arrive to that web page, there's going to be, a first page where you have to click a box and pass on through. But once you get to the second page, there's going to be a link that says file a new claim. You want to click that link, and it's a relatively easy process. I mean, it can take a little bit of time, but it is very doable. And for those of our for those of you who don't have a computer, most everyone we work with has a phone, and I tell them, even though you may not have a computer, you can still apply for unemployment over the phone by calling DEO. You can call DEO at 1-833-352-7759. When you call DEO, I always tell my clients, you have to go in with the right expectations. You have to know that when you call, it's probably going to take a while, so you're going to need to be patient. Sometimes you'll call and they'll hang up. You got to call again. I always encourage my clients to be tenacious. But I've found that if you're going to call DEO to do, whether it's, applying or filing a new application for unemployment or claiming your weeks, which again, I'll talk about later, it's easiest to get a hold of someone early in the morning, calling at around 8. That's the best way to get a hold of someone. And I find that, the people on the other end of the line, the representatives, are really hardworking people who are doing their best to help claimants get the money they need.
Right. And for anyone watching, it's going to be in the comments on Facebook, but it is connect.myflorida.com for the website, and the phone number to DEO is 1-833-352-7759. And Michael, can you just clarify for anyone watching what DEO stands for, just so we have that, another acronym?
So DEO,
You do it every day.
To my vocabulary, I say it so many times. But DEO stands for the Department of Economic Opportunity, and it's the Florida government agency that's responsible for paying out these unemployment benefits.
Okay, perfect. So another FAQ that you get is, I lost my job months ago. Can I still file for unemployment?
The answer to that question is yes, absolutely. But like I said before, with these federal unemployment programs, you really have to be quick about it, do everything you can to get that application in. So yes, you can, but another concern a lot of people have, well, I don't want to start, claiming unemployment from today, say for example, like November 5th, when I, lost my job back in March. And that's something you can fix. You can call DEO at the number I just said and Alicia just said, and submit a request to backdate your claim. And what this will do, it'll allow you to claim unemployment benefits for all the weeks you weren't working. So from back to March to however long your unemployment program lasts, or however many benefits or weeks of benefits it'll pay out to you.
Okay, all right. So they can call in and let them know they want to have it backdated if it's something they haven't applied for.
And I should mention, backdating takes a while. This is sometimes it can take. I haven't seen somebody get their claim backdated until at least 4 weeks of waiting, and sometimes it can be even longer. So you have to be patient, and I encourage everyone to go in with the right expectations. But one way I tell clients to that I don't know if it necessarily works, but I've seen instances where clients have been successful. But calling DEO on a regular basis, asking for updates on your request to backdate, that typically has an effect on how long a claimant has to wait for their claim to be backdated.
Okay, so once a claimant is eligible, how will they get paid?
So DEO simply won't pay you each week. You have to go through a process that is called, you have to request benefit payments, and you do that by claiming your weeks, as we call it. So for example, and when you go into your Connect account or when you call DEO, they'll let you know when you can claim weeks. They typically post weeks every 2 weeks. And you go in and it'll have a period of time. For example, let's say July 5th to July 11th, so a 7-day period. And they're going to ask you questions like, did you do work searches? Like, did you do the required work searches? And normally you have to answer yes, you have to do the work searches. However, there's a work search waiver in place that is in effect until January 2nd. I'm obsessed with July. I don't know why. January 2nd of next year. So January 2nd of 2021. So when you claim your weeks, you don't really have to answer those. But when that waiver expires, you must. Otherwise, it'll hold up your payments. But that's the first 2 questions. Did you look for work? Did you make a contact at Career Source? Then they ask you if you're able and available for work, and you must be able and available for work. If you're not able and available for work, you're not going to be able to collect unemployment. Then they're going to ask you if you work that week. You can work and get unemployment. But if you earn enough money, they're going to subtract however much you earn from your weekly benefit amount. But you have to answer honestly. You have to make full disclosures. They then ask you if you've reported all your income, which you must do if you get any income. You have to report it to them. And then with like the federal unemployment programs, they ask you if you're still unemployed due to COVID, and you have to answer that appropriately.
Okay.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of brings us into the next about the types of questions that claimants are asked when they claim their weeks. Can you go into that a little bit, kind of what they can expect?
And it's just like I said, I got ahead of myself. But claimants, like I said, you would just log into your account. It's a relatively simple process. It shouldn't take too long, especially now with the waiver. It should only take 10 minutes at the most.
Okay.
But they can call DEO. And I also want to point out, the importance of being accurate in answering these questions, because if you don't answer these questions accurately, or if you make mistakes, even if it's unintentional, you could be asked to repay the benefits you have received. And, in some cases, there's criminal consequences if, DEO believes there's been fraud. So it's very, very important that we're on.
All right. And another question is, I received a notice from DEO in the mail and I don't understand what it means. So what do I do?
So if you're a client of ours, you can obviously feel free to call us. But if you're not, again, call DEO. Notices are very important. You got to be able to understand what they're saying. And the people at DEO, if like, say, for example, you're just not understanding all the language, I know sometimes these notices can be quite confusing just because the type of language used, and they're not always super clear, but you should call and get clarification, because sometimes with these notices, there's a request that you do like answer something, that there's like a fact finding that you need to answer. And when you call, you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone in that case, because you're figuring out what this is, and 2, you're doing the requested action.
Yeah, and I think that applies with a lot of things that are legally related, that if you get a notice, putting your head in the sand on any of it is never a good idea. So if you have questions, call DEO. If it's something that you may need help with from coast to coast, we'll have the contact information for our office too. What if someone receives a determination disqualifying them from receipt of their benefits?
So if you receive a disqualification, for example, like I had a client who received a disqualification for losing their job due to misconduct. So this client disagreed with that, so we appealed it. And you can appeal these disqualifications, or many other issues, because there's a host of issues that can arise relating to an unemployment case. But you go into your Connect, or you can file a paper appeal. They have the paper appeal form online, and you can just Google DEO PDF form, appeal PDF form. But we filed the appeal, and after the appeal is filed, it's docketed and a evidentiary hearing is scheduled. And that's something you go to on your own, but or if you're eligible for our services, you can come to us and we can help represent you. However, sometimes claimants don't get the result they like. So there's another level of appeal. Like you can appeal it to what is known as the Reemployment Assistance Appeals Commission, or the RAC as we call it. And that's stuff that we do as well. I've done that in the past and I've been successful. So, but then again, every case is different. The facts are different, but we always do our best to work with clients where they're at and give them the help to the best of our abilities.
Yes, of course. Like with anything in law, the same. It's it's always case by case, and everyone's details and facts within their case are going to be different.
Yes.
If I am called back to work and I don't return, can I still get unemployment benefits?
Short answer, no, or very likely not. This has been a question I've received a lot. I mean, it's probably, very anxiety inducing for people who are worried about going back to work, because whether it's because of the nature of their job or whatever else, it can be concerning going back into an environment where you're working with people, you're around people who you don't know what their lives are like when they leave work. But nevertheless, if you're recalled to work, you must return to work, or DEO may view this as a voluntary quit, therefore disqualifying a claimant from receipt of unemployment benefit. However, since the pandemic, OSHA, or the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, has created new requirements for employers reopening their businesses. And after reading those requirements, which are available online, you believe that you're not in a safe work environment, you can always file a complaint with OSHA. But unfortunately, you must return to work if you're recalled to work, even during these difficult times.
Or you risk the loss of the unemployment. You wouldn't be able to get those benefits if you voluntarily don't work. Okay. So can you help clients with other issues besides unemployment?
Well, yes, definitely. Unemployment this type of work often creates other issues. For example, sometimes people, when they lose their job, they also lose their health coverage. We have a part of our unit also does that, and we're a well-coordinated office, and we can help with stuff like that. Or sometimes it creates housing issues, and we can sometimes refer to our partners outside of the firm who can hopefully help you. But we also refer to nonprofit organizations like SunServe or Broward House. These are all organizations that do a lot to help clients in need who are feeling some struggles. But yeah, we can refer out, do our best to get you the help you need.
All right. Thank you, Michael. So anyone that's watching can look in the comments. We'll have the contact information for Coast to Coast Legal Aid on the phone, and also the website. There'll also be a link there to access our online intake system where you complete your application online. We're going to shift gears just a little now, and I'll be shifting my hosting duties to Sarah Barker, who is the supervising attorney for the Senior Citizen Law Project at Coast to Coast. And she's going to be joined by David Johnson, an Equal Justice Works Fellow, also part of the Senior Citizen Law Project. And they're going to discuss scams that happen this time of year and what to look out for. So Sarah and David, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Alicia. So our presentation today, or our portion of this presentation, is regarding scams. David Johnson is an attorney with the Senior Law Unit. He's actually our Equal Justice Works Fellow under the Elder Justice Program, and he provides legal assistance to seniors who are victims of elder abuse, exploitation, and fraud. So thank you for being with us today, David.
Thank you for having me.
So I guess we'll start with scams, because there's so much that that can happen, but we'll start with the very basic. What is a scam?
Very generally, a scam is a plot by someone, the scammer, to get money or information from their target. Typically, these are done over the phone or the internet, but in certain cases, it can be somebody that you know.
Okay. So can you describe some of these types of scams that you see in your work?
Yeah, scams come in all shapes and sizes. Again, typically they are doing something to try to deceive you into giving them money or information. Certain scams that we've come across are prize scams, which someone calls you and says you've won a prize, you're going to win a lot of money. We just need you to send us some money first, and then we'll send you your, $10,000 or whatever. Generally, there are wire fraud scams, which is someone contacts you saying, I'm a business manager, I'm trying to move some money around, could you please take this check and deposit it for me and then send me the money and you can keep some of it for yourself. That is a scam. There are scams that happen on social media, online dating, for anybody out there that is online dating. There will be fake accounts on online dating sites that are going to try to ask you for money. Or and other examples of maybe a more in-person scam, pyramid schemes, or as they're becoming known now, as flowers, which are schemes in which you have you deposit money and are promised a great rate of return as long as you can try to find more people to deposit money as well. Say you put in $100 in 2 months, you're supposed to get back $1,000. You will never see that money. Other things are multi-level marketing schemes, which are essentially still pyramid schemes with just selling a product in the middle of it. Identity theft and phishing with a PH. Those are mostly targeted towards obtaining your information, either through fake websites or emails, or posing as somebody else on the phone saying we need to verify your social security number. And also, one of the last things I'll talk about is law enforcement or government impersonation scams. Very similar. Again, you get a call from someone saying they're the sheriff's department or the IRS, saying you're in trouble unless you send us money immediately. And then, nothing's ever happened, and, someone's out thousands of dollars because of something that never ever actually happened.
So some of the scams that we've seen, when clients bring us their documentation, some of it looks very legitimate, at least at the beginning. So what are some things or some red flags, people can look for to see whether or not something's a scam?
This can be really hard because scammers are doing their best to try to make it seem legitimate. They are very good at getting people to trust them. Typically, my rule of thumb is that if someone comes to you with something that sounds too good to be true, it is. If you're being told that you're going to invest some money now and receive tenfold that in 2 months, that's most likely a scam. Or other things, if it's someone purporting to be a government agency, if the IRS calls you asking for your social security number, well, the IRS already has your social security number. They don't need it again. Or if there's something, things like, you're about to be audited and we need this and that. Typically, if these scams pop up out of the blue, no one's really ever expecting a scam to come their way. So if, say, someone hasn't been dealing with the IRS, all of a sudden, if they pop up out of nowhere and say you're in big trouble, that's definitely a red flag. Also, if you're talking to somebody and they're asking you to send an unusual form of payment, something other than cash or check or certified funds. For example, having them send you gift card, or you sending them gift cards or cryptocurrency or any other weird form of payment that's kind of nothing you would get from your bank, that is extra suspicious, and you really need to be careful with those.
Yeah, I think those types are the most difficult because you as the you went to your own bank or you used your debit card to purchase the gift card, and then once that gift card's used up, because you made the purchase, you can't go to your bank and say, well, this gift card was, it was a scam because they didn't break into your bank account. You used your own money to purchase the gift card. So I think that that's a really important one. The ones that ask for form of payment outside of your accounts, be suspicious. I think that's a really, really good tip. So what are some things that, proactively somebody can do to avoid being a victim of a scam?
So to be proactive, the first rule of thumb is that you would never, ever, ever give out your personal information to strangers over the phone or internet. If it is somebody that purports to be from your bank or some other, your insurance company or anything like that, and they're asking you for information, what you need to do is say, okay, well, I'm going to call you back. And at that point, you call the number that you know is the bank, or whatever place you're calling. And then that legitimately that is the bank on the other end of the line. And chances are, if they really are needing something from you, you can get to somebody and give them your information securely. You can also talk to your bank about fraud prevention measures that they carry, as well as account activity notifications. You would like to know if, for example, someone's trying to make a major withdrawal out of your checking account, or that if someone's trying to open up a new credit card or new accounts in your name. If your bank doesn't have those things, doesn't offer those things, consider moving your monies to somewhere else, because that's a really good line of defense you have against scams and identity theft. Another thing you should do and get in the habit of is to regularly monitor your credit reports. If you haven't done anything like that already, if you're not aware, there are 3 major credit reporting bureaus. There's Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And the law says that you are entitled to 1 free report from each of those bureaus per year. So best practices is that you would need to, every 4 months, request your credit report from one of those 3. And you would do TransUnion in January, then Experian in April, and then Equifax in August or September, and try to space them out so you're being aware and monitor those for unusual activity. Things like a new credit card open in your name is the biggest red flag you can find, but anything that you're not aware of happening, you need to be aware of. And if you do find something, you need to report it to the bureau immediately. The last thing I would suggest is identity theft insurance. There are some companies out there that will reimburse you the costs if your identity is stolen. However, I would recommend checking the fine print at any of those places, because sometimes they won't fully reimburse you for the costs of having your identity stolen. They can't replace everything. They're maybe just helping you get some of the money back, or some of the cost and fees, but otherwise you may end up stuck not fully reimbursed like you would think with some other insurance policy you may have.
That's really good information. I think that the part about the credit reporting, or getting your credit report and reviewing it, is something that people should really do on a regular basis. And I think it's that idea of going through every 4 months and getting your free copy from the 3 different bureaus is important to do. I'm probably guilty of not doing it too, but I think it's something that's like really a good practice for everybody. So, you know, you can catch activity before all of a sudden you find out there's a credit card that someone's been running up a bill for 2 years, and suddenly you're getting notices. So that's, you know, that's a really, really great tip.
And one thing I do want to jump in with also, the AARP does have a lot of resources with protecting yourself from fraud, including a helpline that you can call if you or a loved one suspect that you're being targeted or falling victim to a scam. It's called the Fraud Watch Network Helpline. The phone number for that is 877-908-3360. I believe it's going to be posted in the comments under this video. Also, AARP's website, which is aarp.org/money/scams-fraud, gives you a lot of information on the scams out there, as well as even a scam map where you can look up and search via your zip code and see, you know, scams that have been reported in your area. So you know, sometimes these are locally targeted scams, and you can try to figure out, you know, what's happening around you and to your neighbors. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great resource. The other thing that you said at the beginning was that the part about somebody contacting you out of the blue, and then like strangers are the ones that initiate the call with you. And you know, I think that what we see a lot is that they will purposefully create this sense of urgency that
Right.
that makes it so you don't have time to think, hey, this doesn't sound right. Why am I out buying 20 gift cards? This really doesn't seem right, because they're creating a situation where they're trying to make you feel like you have to do this now. They don't want you to talk to your family members about it. They don't want you to Google it. You know, they just want you to go out and do what you have to do. So, you know, I think that point is, you know, really, really important as a preventative measure. And one of the tips to look out for when you're, you know, when you're kind of hearing something that's not quite right, the point that you made about stop and call them back, right? Your mortgage company, you can call, you know, your bank or your mortgage company. You know, they have numbers and you can call, and if they called you, they're probably going to have a history or a note in the computer that says why they called you, what they're calling about. So, you know, be proactive and take the time to write down the information and then go and look it up. Like, don't let someone put that fear of urgency in you. I think that, you know, a lot of the things we see, that's where somebody comes to us and says, I can't believe I did that. But it's because there was a situation where they felt that they had to go out and spend the money or send the check. So I think that's, you know, those are really, really great tips.
Right. Seniors, especially, one of the more notorious scams that targets them is someone calling, actually posing as a grandchild or a more distant family member, calling you saying, listen, I'm in some sort of trouble. I've hit a car. I'm in jail. I've even seen one where saying I've been kidnapped and I need you to send money immediately. You know, that is one of those things that, yeah, would put a lot of people into a panic if they've heard a loved one is in danger. But again, I just encourage some thinking where you think about, well, if somebody is in, you know, why am I the person that's being called right now if I say haven't been speaking to this particular family member in a while? Or, you know, if this person's in real danger, you know, why are they calling me and not the police or, you know, whoever else may be more appropriate to handle it than you? So yeah, I think, you know, the false sense of urgency is definitely a big trick that scammers use against people to kind of hope to grab the money and get out before, you know, the target gets aware of what's going on.
Now, you know, what can someone do? you know, it happened to them. They realized that, you know, they were a victim of a scam. Now either their personal information's out there, they've lost money. What steps should they take?
If you do suspect that you've fallen victim to a scam, if you've sent somebody money or given them, you know, personal information like a social security number, at that point, there are some steps you can take. First would be filing a police report with your local police, and just having a record that you've reported what's happened as a crime. Um, you can also file a report to the Federal Trade Commission. They do a lot of work with trying to protect people from scams. If it's your information you've given out, put a freeze on your credit with the credit bureaus. Typically, if you put it on with one, the other two bureaus will also freeze your credit. And at that point, you know, nobody could open up. What that would do is it prevents people from opening up new accounts underneath your name until you have it unfrozen. So if someone has your social security and is going to try to open up a new credit card, for example, then you can prevent them from doing that if you beat them and freeze your credit before that. Also, the Federal Trade Commission does have some ways where, you know, if you do need to, if you've paid a scammer, you can try to call your bank. We recommend that having a police report already when you're contacting your bank is very important. They tend to take it a little bit more seriously if you have a police report. You know, if it's and you can try to ask, you know, typically banks will have some measure of, you know, reimbursement in cases of fraud. If it's a wire transfer, you can contact the wire transfer company. If you've given out gift cards, contact whoever issued you the gift card and try to tell them it wasn't a scam. If you've given them a social security number, you can go to identitytheft.gov. And if it's maybe a username and password to an online account, say for your bank, immediately change those, create a new password, write it down somewhere. And another tip also is if you do use online banking and other websites that allow you to have accounts with your email attached, don't use the same password for every account. You need to mix up your passwords as best you can. There are programs that can help you come up with random strings and passwords, and it'll keep it straight for you. Or just, you know, you can do it the old-fashioned way and keep a list of passwords in a notebook next to your desk. But having one password be the only password you use for all of your online accounts means is that someone, if that password information gets leaked, if there's a security breach at one website, someone could obtain your information at every website you're using.
Right. So right now, and we've seen in the past, whenever there's, you know, a crisis event, you know, hurricanes, and right now we're having this pandemic that we've been dealing with since March or before. I mean, it seems as though people are more likely to be taken advantage during these times. Scammers know that people want, you know, want certain things based on whatever event has happened. So what types of scams are out there right now that are related to COVID-19?
So while we personally at Coast to Coast haven't seen any coronavirus scams, we are aware of reports of them. Specifically, a lot of them tend to be around the stimulus checks that have come out. Places saying, you know, we need you to verify your information so you can receive your stimulus check, something like that. And you know, asking for a social security number, and then that person may end up collecting your stimulus check for you. And it's very important to be aware of that, considering there may be a second round of stimulus checks going out. Other things, COVID, you know, things that purport to be cures for COVID. As of now, there is no known no known cure for COVID. There is a vaccine, of course, that is beginning its distribution phase. There may be scams that pop up regarding maybe vaccination, or offering, coronavirus vaccination for some cheap, easy way. Also, other scams around products related to COVID, like for example, something purporting to be a hot stock tip on some coronavirus related product, or, fake COVID-19 relief grants even, or student loan forgiveness or anything like that. All of those things can be used as leverage with COVID-19 to create that sense of urgency again, and maybe, get around somebody thinking twice and getting wise to that.
Okay, so if you could wrap it up with just kind of like, what should people take, the most important thing people should take from everything that you've just said to try and prevent this from happening to them?
The most important thing I think for people to keep in mind is that really the strongest protection against scams is just a healthy dose of common sense. To be a bit suspicious about maybe why people are calling you, asking to saying, we're going to give you money if you give us some money in return. No one would really want to just give money away, so why are they giving away money to you? Or why is this person saying they're in trouble? Why are they calling me in this situation when they could have a lot of other people they could call as well? The best way to deal with scams is to prevent them from happening in the first place. If it's a robocall, if you're aware that you get called by some number you're not aware of, and it's some pre-recorded message talking about your car's extended warranty, for example. You don't even know if you have an extended warranty or not, so why are you listening to the call? The best tool you have against scams is the button on your phone that hangs up the call. If you suspect something is off, you don't even need to say anything. Don't bother being polite to someone that you suspect may be scamming you. You could just hang up the phone and that's it.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation on scams today. I think it's really important, especially around, the holiday season. We don't want anyone to be taken advantage of. And I'll just say that if you find out you are a victim of a scam, do not be afraid to report it. Because hopefully, enough that you're not the only one that person may be scamming. And enough reports can really help different agencies that are receiving these reports actually, hopefully, at some point, put an end to the scammer. So reporting is really important. You want to do it also to protect yourself, to create, to create for yourself protections moving forward and to recover from it. So thank you, David, for all that that information today. Is really helpful.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to pop back in. And when David said about the car's extended warranty, I don't even know how many calls I've gotten with those where they call in. It's the robocall like for it. So that is definitely one that is out there. But thank you, David, and thank you, Sarah, for all of that information about scams. But I get the pleasure of putting Sarah on the spot now with some questions about housing. So this is something that is very close to me, and I know that's something that Sarah has worked on for years as well. And it's been very important throughout COVID this year. I mean, even before, but in particular now. So we just want to do a couple of updates with what's going on with housing. So the first FAQ that we get is, if I'm a renter and I've fallen behind on my rent payments to my landlord, what protections do I currently have, and will there be future protections?
Thank you for asking that, Alicia. It's really, okay, it's no secret that right now all over the country, renters are having trouble making their payments. Right now, we're running under the CDC order. That's the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that provides a temporary, and temporary being the key word, halt on residential evictions for covered tenants for non-payment of rent. If a tenant has had a loss of income, they can on the CDC website, there's going to be a declaration they can fill out. I believe it's under penalty of perjury. They have to provide it to their landlord. Problem is that order really only halts the eviction process until New Year's Eve of this year. So December 31st, we don't know what's going to come after that date. So as of this minute, that's the information we have. So we're, waiting to see what comes of it. There's a lot of, things in motion. So right now, the best thing I can tell people that are facing issues with their housing and fear of loss of housing is that, it has to be dealt with, because at some point, it's just going to come to fruition where either you're going to owe back the payments or you're going to have to move. So in terms of renters, there is assistance out there. We're going to be posting on in the Facebook Live chat box 2 different programs, or 2 different websites rather, because maybe you're not in Broward County where we are, that are going to give you ways to find out where you are residing, what financial assistance is going to be available to you. So those websites will be posted on the Facebook, on our Facebook Live during this presentation. I would encourage you, if you are in this situation, to reach out to see what assistance is available. The financial, don't be afraid. Don't feel like, I don't deserve it. I mean, the money's here for a reason, and it's to help keep people in homes. So, take advantage of it. The money comes and the money goes. So it's very important that if you're facing financial issues and you can't make a mortgage or you can't make a rental payment, that you try and see what assistance you may qualify for financially, because there are programs out there right now, but there's only certain amounts of money to give out. These programs do require that you provide a lot of, information, documentation. So you want to be on top of that. Make sure you're submitting everything you need to, so that you can hopefully get some financial assistance. Clearly, there's going to be a lot of people applying for it. So just try and if you are in the application process, stay on top of whatever agency you're working with to get the financial assistance.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Just a reminder that was the expiration on that was December 31st, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow. So that's not really that long away. We're going to be at the end of 2020. But also what Sarah was talking about with any of these programs that you can apply for the assistance, look at the county where you are, look in the city where you are. There may be some other programs as well. And if you are here local in Broward, we post those when we get updates. We put them all the time on our Facebook page. So anytime we get the update, we put that out there. So you can keep a watch on our page. We try to keep it as up to date as possible. So Sarah, what if I'm a homeowner and I'm currently in forbearance with my mortgage company due to COVID-19? What can I expect when this forbearance is over?
Well, the answer to that is going to be, it depends on your situation, because there's a variety of programs out there. First, through the CARES Act, the forbearance program was for federally backed loans. If you have an FHA mortgage, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, then you could apply for a forbearance program through your lender. And a lot of people did that back in March, and they may be coming towards the end of their forbearance period. Now, if you don't have a federally backed loan, you may still have been provided a forbearance, because individual lenders were still, depending on the company, depending on your mortgage, you may still have qualified for one of their programs. So if you did take advantage because you had to of the forbearance, there's a few things you want to do if you're, if you've recovered or you have recovered from the financial situation, you had been out of work maybe when everything went on lockdown, but you've been back at work, you have income coming in again, you want to let your mortgage company know as soon as possible so that you can see what's available to you and get out of the forbearance and start being able to make payments again so you can get everything back, square one with your mortgage. The other thing that you want to do is if you have a forbearance period that maybe is going to end in a month or two, maybe a month or two before it ends, contact your lender and see, say I'm in a forbearance through this date. What options are going to be available to me? I'd like to start looking at those now. When your mortgage statements are coming in, make sure you're reading them and looking at them and making sure that either they're reflecting what was agreed to in the forbearance plan that maybe you were told over the phone. Try and get everything you can in writing so that you can make sure that what you were told by a representative on the phone is actually what you're receiving and that you have some documentation to show that that's the agreement that's going on right now. However, you were able to, whatever the terms were of the forbearance. Can't say it enough, forbearance doesn't mean the payments aren't due. It's a pause of payments. So when the forbearance is over, there's gonna have to be an assessment done to see what happens to all those missed payments. And that's gonna really depend on the lender, whether you have a federally backed loan, your income at that time, your circumstances. But generally you'll be reviewed for maybe a loan modification, a repayment plan. So hopefully, you can, or maybe if you're still in a financial burden, you can see if you can get an extended forbearance. If you can, however, start making payments again. I do encourage people to call their lender and let them know so they can, like I said, get back on track. The further you fall behind, sometimes it's just more difficult to get out of that and to recover. So hopefully, by being in touch with your lender, by reading the documentation they're sending to you thoroughly to make sure that it explains whatever you were told on the phone, that's what it says. And if it doesn't, you need to contact your lender and see why, see what happened and see what's really going on.
And I think that's really important. And just like what I was talking about with Michael is when you get notices, if it's from your lender, if it's from your landlord, a head in the sand for it is just not the way to go because things get a lot worse the longer it goes. So being on top of it, asking those questions and what you need to do is really important and not just letting it, slide under the rug because it's just going to get a bigger bump there. And another question is, I heard that the courts are closed. Does this mean I don't have to appear in court or respond to evictions and foreclosures if it was filed against me?
So the courts are still running. The courts are running right now. The clerk's office is open for business if you need to go file a pleading or do something at the clerk's office. Right now, though, for civil cases, hearings are taking place via Zoom technology. If you don't have an ability to have a camera, there's going to be call-in numbers. So right now, if you're served with a lawsuit, you need to address it. Contact an attorney, and it's not just going to sit there because of the pandemic. The court is proceeding. Maybe different divisions are proceeding at different speeds, but cases are proceeding. So you may still get a notice of hearing. That notice of hearing is probably going or should have the way that you can attend the hearing through technology. It's going to be through Zoom. It's going to either have the link. You can go to the clerk of court website here in Broward they have a Zoom sort of pop-up thing where you can see how to attend a Zoom hearing. So, we don't miss a hearing or don't participate in a lawsuit that was filed against you because you think nothing's going to happen. Cases are still being filed. Cases are still proceeding. So we certainly, you need to participate. So, or reach out and seek an attorney's, get legal advice, retain counsel, so that you don't suffer, some type of loss, like a loss of home or money, or get a judgment entered against you when you thought that the courts were closed. I didn't think this was gonna be moving forward. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on too is kind of going back to the mortgage issue, is that there's nothing preventing homeowners associations or condominiums from proceeding with collection on past due maintenance. So when you're, in a financial situation where you are trying to figure out what can you do, try the best you can to stay current with your homeowners association maintenance payments, with your condo maintenance payments, because there's nothing right now that prevents them from going forward and getting a foreclosure and selling your condo or your townhouse in a foreclosure sale. Sometimes, I think there's also sometimes out there that, it's COVID's going on, so they can't do it, but there's really nothing right now going on that's prohibiting that.
Right. Thank you for all of that, Sarah. It's really good information, because I know we get a lot of those questions coming in, and clients really needing to know, and just putting that information out there to the public is really helpful. I want to go ahead and thank Michael, Sarah, and David for their time today and answering all of these FAQs that we have, because they're getting them every day coming in. And I think the other thing that's kind of become clear is, this was a year-end wrap-up and some updates, but there were dates that were provided in this workshop today that let you know December 26th, there's a deadline, on applying for those unemployment benefits or reemployment assistance, and all the acronyms that Michael used that I don't use every day, but for all of those. And then for what Sarah was just discussing, that there are timelines for what protections are still in place for December 31st. So the year end, this information is current, of course, as of today, December 17th, 2020. We could see some changes, but as of right now, the information we have is current. But thank you all again for participating, and for everyone that was watching. And everyone who's watching, be sure to check our Facebook for any of the updates. You can also call us if you have questions at our office. The number is 954-736-2400. And our offices are closed to the public, but we are working remotely to assist the community. You can also get more information at our website at coasttocoastlegalaid.org. But thank you to everyone who watched today. We're going to add this video to our YouTube channel with our other virtual clinics. We're going to post the link to that and the comments as well. And be sure to like and follow us so you know what other events are coming up, because there's going to be more of this in 2021. And for everyone watching, please stay safe and stay well, and happy holidays. Thank you all.